Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Lolly, and I've been working on a series for what I'm calling Lapbooks Reimagined, and I'm making a big book, and these are going in it. And this time I was going to actually be sewing these into the book, but I decided to do something else. And so here's what I wanted to do. I have these file folders that I'm making these out of and these signatures out of, but I decided I wanted to put a big pocket here. So what I have is a 9x6 envelope like this, and I have matted it on the front. What I'm going to do is glue just along the sides and bottom to make this another pocket. Now I have my Barely Art glue, and I'm going to show you how to do this, plus if you don't want to invest in the envelopes, what you can do. So I decided I was going to just glue this envelope in there, and then I realized that I could do what I'm doing now and just make it a pocket. And so then I made this little file tab to go in there like this. So I'm going to give you all the measurements, but right now I just want to make sure that this adheres really well while we talk. So again, this is a 9x6 envelope. So I'm going to get a new one right here. Let's put this over here. Okay, for the matting, I'm using 8 3/4 by 5 1/2. And so I have one pre-cut here. And again, you can always round these corners if you want. I want to kind of do a good matting across here as well. So I'm going to put this in there and slide it all the way to the right and on the top. And I'm going to trace the left side here. Then I'm going to slide it all the way to the left and up, and then trace the right side. So slide it to the right to trace the left, slide it to the left to trace the right, and that should give us a good mat. Now I have several of these 9x6 envelopes, and frankly they are all different. So some of them are side loading, some are top loading, so it's good to just go ahead and measure your mat like this. Okay, so there we go, and there is our mat. Now you could use your glue stick. I do have an Uhu here, and I like to use a magazine to get that glue in here. Make sure if you're using glue stick, you're using a permanent one, and also if you're using double-sided tape, you should also use a liquid glue in between your rows of tape, not on top of the tape, but in between them, so that you can get a good permanent hold, because your tape can end up drying out over time. Now for this, I have a 1.5 inch wide strip, and it's too wide. So let's see what we need. Yeah, we just barely need over 1. 1 1/4 is even too much. So let's do 1. All right. Now same thing. It needs to be a little shorter, and I can see it needs to be right about there. So we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to line it all the way up to the top, and so that one corner meets right there, and I'm going to trace that. Then I'm going to line up the right. And again, that's just a mat, but on the other side of this flap is that glue, the pre-gummed adhesive area, so we want to cover that up too. So this here, it's gummed, so let's cover that up. And I am not quite as particular about how the back looks as opposed to the front. I'm going to cover this gummed label without worrying about matchy-matchy. So there we go. I'm just covering that gumming which means I need to push it further up. There we go. Now we have that, and we can glue that in, again, same way, bottom and sides, but we need the insert. So let's bring this back and revisit this and this. So this is going to fit in there really well. And now when I close this, this is the little folder that goes inside. So that's really cute. So this part here is going to be 8 1/4 this way by 5 7/8 this way. Now we have so many scraps. I'm going to measure from here for my 5 7/8. So I have all this beautiful design. Okay, so I measured the first one wrong. I did my 5 7/8 this way instead of the 8 1/4. So this is the 8 1/4. This is the 5 7/8. Measure from this edge, not from that. And let's come in here and give this the corner. I'm going to round these corners because I always think it makes it easier to drop this into the pocket. And then the mat for this, so this was 8 1/4 by 5 7/8. The mat is going to be 8 and 5 1/2, and I have one already cut, and I'm going to round these corners and get that glue stick out again. If there's any big chunks of the glue, you want to smooth those out. Okay, I do see I have an issue here because this has a little notch in it. Now we have this little area up here. You notice that on my first one, right there, I did put that on there, and that is the branding strip. See how it says Echo Park, Be Happy? So that's what I did, was I cut that off. Let's see if that fits. Pretty good. I just eyeballed that. I know, I'm just really being risk taker today. Okay. So now we have 2 of these. All right, so this one, that one is already glued in. This one can go anywhere. It can go in the back of this one, like this, which I think I will do. But what if you don't have these envelopes and you don't want to invest in buying them? If you have 12-inch paper, and this is actually more of a text weight, but you can use cardstock. It's 12 inches this way, so just measure it 9 inches wide. So I am going to take this, and instead of scoring it at 6, I'm going to score it at 5 1/4. And I'm being careful not to be heavy-handed because this is text weight paper. So I don't want to tear it. So let's fold that on there. It's not even hard to burnish. Oh, you know, while I had this, I should have scored right here. Let's just fold it over and not fret too much over it. I have these nice lines on there. Okay, so this is our envelope now. And then to help, we could go ahead and do a thumb notch on here if we want. And that would give us a better ability to reach into the envelope. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually just using the 1 inch at first, and I'm just going to offset this. And before I glue this together, I want to get a mat here, and the mat again is still going to be, it's going to be 8 3/4 by 5 1/2. Since this is not the same as the other envelopes, and I actually made this one, this only needs to be 5 by 8 3/4. Now you notice we have that notch issue. So I'm going to mark the center of that, and I'm going to use a bigger punch to go around that. Let's see how that looks. Perfect. And now we need to glue this in. I'm going to go ahead and use the Barely Art this time. We could have just left that graph paper visible too. Now I can glue my envelope shut by only getting on the sides of the front flap. So besides this playlist that I have for all my videos on the Lapbook Reimagined series, I also have the videos for my envelopes, how to make envelopes, what to do with envelopes. And now we need this. I love these little bees. We don't have to round corners or anything on this one. Again, I'm just eyeballing that. And for this, there's no gummed flap. So I don't have to put anything here because it's not gummed. Okay, but we can do the same thing that we've been doing with these, and that is to glue it along the sides and bottom and make one of these to fit in there. The other thing I could do with this is use it anyway, and it doesn't have to be the full width of this, so that's another good use of that. So there you go. You don't have to watch me glue my envelopes in. I just wanted to show you this fun addition to our signatures. We have this, we have all this real estate here and there for photos or quotes, and we have all of this, and we have the pocket as well. So really happy with how that turned out. Thanks for watching. Look at the links underneath this video. You're going to have a whole supply list, free downloads, and you name it.